Life Fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partners, your children, your bodies today? This is an episode that I think everyone needs to listen to because there's something in our society that's a little warped. And I was super excited when I heard about Mandi and the newly written book she has written, The Birthday Suits, which you could get at thebirthdaysuitbooks.com. It is so super important. I am not going to even tell you anything about it because I want you to hear from Mandi exactly what they are, how it's going to affect your relationship, how it's going to affect your kids, and just what it does to your sex education as a parent. So thank you so much, Mandi and Matt, for being here. I'm excited to be speaking with you. You want to start by telling us how you guys met?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. How we met? Well, I had been on about 10 blind dates and I was done. I didn't want to be on any more because I'm really tall. And so most of my blind dates were, hey, I know someone who's tall. He'll be perfect. Not even like thinking about what he was actually like, but this one was from my sister. So I open the door and I see him and I'm like, oh, this is different.
How did you know? Besides for his looks, what else did you know?
Oh man, I just knew right away because there was just this kindness in his eyes. I could see that immediately. It was like, honestly, one of the best first dates. It was the best first date.
Well, probably the last first date.
It was the last first date. Yes.
I hope so.
What was it, Matt, from your perspective?
Well, for me, yeah, it was similar. I'd been on lots of blind dates, and time again, yeah, you just don't connect, and it's just not something that you really want to pursue ever. But yeah, with Mandi, it was. I mean, I think that first date we stayed just sitting on our couch talking about everything until 2 or 3 in the morning.
That part's a secret.
Yeah, don't tell our kids that. But yeah, it just felt good and natural. I'd received her number like 6 months before, I'm not gonna lie. And I was so doubtful that, another blind date because she's tall, I'm tall would work. I was doubtful. So I drug my feet there quite a bit and then finally took the leap, and then yeah, the rest was history. After that first date, we couldn't, stop seeing each other every single day, pretty much. So it was good.
So how long ago was this?
How long, hon?
What do you think?
16 and a half years.
Oh, wow. And when you say tall, how tall are you?
17 and a half.
I'm 6 feet tall and he is...
I'm 6'5". What?
Yeah, you're 6'5".
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, 6'5".
Okay. So
yes,
yeah, that's tall. Okay. So how did you get started in writing this incredible book that I think is so very, I don't know what happened, like why we didn't have it before, but so glad that we finally have it now.
Yes.
Well, I got started, first of all, before I had kids, I was a high school health teacher and I saw a wide variety of knowledge and education in these kids. I taught in a very conservative community, but still, I was just shocked at how much these kids didn't know. And I remember once I had my first son, it was my last year of teaching, and I held him up in front of all my students, and I brought him to school sometimes, and I said, you guys, I am so thrilled to teach this kid about his body. And he's going to learn young, and he is going to know what's going on. So from the very beginning, I've always been so excited to teach my kids about their body. And I taught health and I taught sex ed, and most parents are so scared to talk about this because it's like, what do you say? How do you say it? And I've had many parents ask me how they were supposed to phrase this. What time do you say what at what age? And I was looking for resources as a young mom, to show my kids. I wanted good pictures of anatomy so that I could teach them, but I really struggled finding anything that I could use. Me, someone who was excited to teach my kids, I couldn't find the resources. And if they were there, they were either way too much material, that they didn't need to have all that, or it was way too little and it wasn't enough. There just wasn't that resource that I really could use to teach my kids. So I just had this brilliant moment when we had 3 kids. They were all in the tub. I was washing them all. at the same time, and, just going through the process that we always did. I had they were all 3 different ages. Okay, let's wash your elbows. Let's wash your shoulders, wash your armpits, wash your vulva, wash your knees, wash your anus, going through the whole body anatomy like we should, because all of our body is ours. It's there. It's not a secret. And I was just teaching them all their body parts without shame. And I just thought, oh gosh, I've got to share the way that I do this with other parents. And so from then on, it took 5 years, but here it is, the birthday suit books.
Matt, were you on the same page as that? Or you were actually, I think I have to slow down with this.
No, we laugh all the time because when, I don't know how you, or if you got this conversation with your parents, but for me, my conversation was sitting in the truck with my dad on the way to work. He was a contractor.
How old are you, do you think?
Well, maybe I was 15, way too late anyways. And he's like, son, something's been weighing on my mind. We need to have a talk. And I'm like, oh, great. Here comes the talk that I know everything about already. And he's like, when there's a plug, because we're in construction, there's extension cords. He's like, on one end, it looks like this, and the other end, it looks like that. I'm like, yeah.
That's very graphic.
and he's like, there you go. We're done. No more. We don't need to talk about this anymore. That's great.
That's all he got.
And to be honest, I kind of thought I was the only one that had such a unique and uninformative discussion. But it turns out way more than what you'd hope. Most of us have just very brief discussions with our families. And so, yeah, I used to sit in to Mandi's classes every now and then when she was teaching this. And it was just, I would sit there and just watch these kids just soak up this new information, which was in high school, right? This is new to them. And so it's a no-brainer. I mean, this needs to be taught, and it needs to be taught at a much younger age in the home with parents. I think that's where the most traction is going to take place. So.
Yeah. Where do you have your story, Mandi? I don't know if it was as dramatic as that one, but
mine was not like that. I mean, I was educated very, very briefly and very lightly. I had to go and find a lot more information on my own for sure. It's funny, in the process of writing this book, I interviewed 126 parents, and I got their feedback of what their experience was like. And in that, I also interviewed my oldest sister and my youngest sister. And there's 20 years apart from my oldest to my youngest. And I am number 4 out of 6. And so I was kind of in the middle, but their experience was completely different. The oldest, she felt she got it all. She was educated. She knew. The youngest, she felt clueless. So it was really hard. And my parents were fabulous parents. They still are. They're wonderful. But it's really hard to teach the same thing from child to child to child, because, raising kids is nuts.
But do you think that your older sister really got everything because she really did get everything, or was just that feeling, but she was really missing tons of information?
I think she was educated. I think my parents did a good job. They were thorough with her. They gave her lots of details. But that's what happens with the first child. You are really on it with your first child. You remember things. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're more confident. By the end, you just think, oh, I think I've taught them. I probably taught them. Or maybe their siblings taught them. And I can attest to this 1,000,000%. But the thing that I just love, well, there's many things that I love about this book, but one that is so cool is it helps parents have a game plan, because you are teaching a lesson to your child every year from 1 to age 9 in the first book, and then from 10 to 18. So it's a yearly lesson. So the parents, we have a game plan. This year, we are teaching these topics to our child.
So let's get more specific. Let's say, what do you teach a 1-year-old? That's their 1.
Okay, they're 1. Yes. The 1-year-old lesson
a lot.
is actually for the parents. It's for the parents.
Okay.
It preps them. It gives them kind of an overview of what's going to happen. It tells the parents, you need to start saying these words out loud. You need to start saying, when you're changing their diapers, you're not embarrassed. It's just you and your child. Just tell them, I am washing your vulva right now. I am washing your anus. I am washing your knees. I mean, it should feel the same thing as saying, I'm washing your elbows, because it's just a body part.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so many parents are so scared to say these words, or they're like, hey, can you wash your penis? And they make this shameful. It's not shameful. It's a part of our body, and all of us have it. So it's okay. It's just, they're important parts, but they're not a secret. So yeah, the age one, the first lesson is definitely for the parent to kind of, and then to also practice how to teach. Because we can't just become excellent teachers on the fly. We have to practice. So it's practicing. What are you going to say when your 3-year-old asks, what is sex? What are you going to say when your 5-year-old asks, where do babies come from? Like, we're just practicing being good teachers.
Okay. Now, at what point do you start teaching them more things, actually, like teaching them?
Well, every year from age 2, we're learning about what the body is, that boys have certain parts and that girls have certain parts. And the goal is that even lesson 9 is the year we talk about what actual penetration is, but we talk about what sex is at age 6. But here's the thing. Most parents, when they think, okay, I'm going to teach my kid about sex, they think I'm going to teach my kid about what I think sex is. And that includes emotions, intimacy, your partner, all these feelings. That is not what you're teaching your child. You are teaching the core, basic, simple principle of what sex is, minus any emotions, minus any of that. And that is that sex is how you create life. That is what the core purpose of what sex is. And if you start with that as your main focus when you're teaching a young child, it's exciting. Yeah. You're talking about DNA, about fertilization, about pregnancy, about delivery. All of that is taught extensively before they even learn about penetration at age 9. And it just comes together beautifully. And they have more of a maturity by the time they're 9, that it's so simple. And then from there on, then we start including more things, like a little bit more about emotions and intimacy and things like that. But before then, no, it's the act of creating life. That's it.
Yeah, it gives them a really strong foundation of what sex really is and how it's not a bad thing. It's not a dirty thing. It could be used like in just the perfect way. And they could like feel really, really good about it. I really like that. Yeah. So your kids were how old did you say when you wrote this? Like your oldest was how old by then?
Well, it's coming out in a week and a half, right, October 26th. Okay,
so your oldest
my oldest is 13, our oldest, and our youngest twins are just barely turned 5.
And how did you teach your oldest? And like now your youngest, like you already have it all in a book, all organized, all neat. But when your oldest was growing up, I'm the oldest. I always say the oldest are the guinea pigs. Then how did you know that you were teaching it correct? I don't want to say the word correctly because I don't think by the end of the day, there's only one right way to go and do it, but
the way that I've designed. Yeah. So it's barely getting published now, but I've had this ready for a long time. I've had this put together for quite a long time. So he did learn lesson 9 when he was 9, and this is how it like concreted in my mind. This is awesome because it just worked out so great. And we've taught them before. And we've had lessons, not like these formal birthday suit talk lessons that we do now, but I mean, it's taken 5 years to write this. So it's we've been testing this on our own family, and it's just been outstanding. Our discussions that we have, our birthday suit talks every birthday with each child, it is like the highlight of parenting.
It's also highly anticipated by the kids too. Like every year, they're the ones who are like, hey, I want more information. Tell me more. Can we have our talk? Which is so different than the way we were raised, right? It was like, oh, here we go. Mom and dad are going to drop the big one on us or something like that. But here,
15 years old,
they're asking every year. It's what else am I going to learn this year? Because last year it blew my mind, and now I get more information. So that's great.
But like, do they speak to their siblings like about it? And like, doesn't stay especially so cool in your perfect framework of year to year?
So that is a great question. And I mean, it could be different from family to family, but when we teach them, we are teaching so much about respect, to respect their body. And we tell them, you have this knowledge. This is, knowledge is power. You don't go and just give it to people who haven't been taught by their parents. Like their parents' job is to teach them. So you have this knowledge. Even your siblings don't know, but they will learn. And right now, your job is not to go and tell everybody because yes, it's not a secret, but it's sacred and it's special. And this is for you and your body. And they will learn when it's time for them to learn. And they actually really enjoy having that accountability and kind of like, hey, I got something cool that I know that you don't. Yeah. And they don't really talk about it. It's kind of the same thing with Santa. Like when the older child learns, like, don't tell the younger one because this is really cool that you know. It's kind of the same principle.
Yeah. And you guys sit together, both you, Mandi, like together with the child?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I don't think that they should learn from one parent or the other. If one parent is uncomfortable talking about it in front of, like, let's say a dad to a daughter, that dad's got some work to do. He's got to figure out, why are you uncomfortable talking about something that created this child in front of you?
Yeah.
Like, you got to work through those issues.
Totally. Yeah. So what has this whole process of coming up with these ideas, writing the book, the whole situation done for your own relationship?
So sorry, she keeps pulling me into the microphone here because I like to talk away. Yeah, it's just more order, more structure, more opportunity to really connect with your kid. When you have that opportunity to connect with a kid at a very special level like this, you're creating this bond, this trust between your child and you. And if you're there with your spouse, it's a, it goes always. So you're getting closer with your spouse. You know you're doing the best thing for your kids. And it's a win. It's a parent win. Anytime there's a parent win together, it's just it seals you closer to your spouse. So definitely.
I'm pretty sure at the end of every lesson, we like high five and we're like, we just did that.
Was good.
It was good. Yeah.
Do you plan for it before, like what you're going to say, who's going to say what, or very like, okay, this is our lesson that we want to do and we're just going to talk?
Well, the lesson plan, this is what I needed and what parents needed. It's a complete lesson plan. It says, like, say this, ask this, show this picture, now ask this, now do this activity. And it's like step by step. So it's not intimidating for parents at all. It's all actually planned out and it's really seamless. And so it's easy to be like, okay, the next parent's got the next step, or there's not much planning, and which is so needed as parents because we don't have time to sit down and plan. We don't have that like extra bandwidth in our brain to plan all this. So it's all done for you. But something I have to say, when you told that story about your dad, when he told me that, I was like, wow, that's intense. However, it's kind of brilliant. So I actually do use a plug to help teach about penetration instead of having to use like hand signals. Because when you teach, you want to use your hand. Right. So I actually use a plug and an outlet to help that concept make sense. And to help like with the sense that if the plug was like, say, noodles can't go into the plug. It has to be erect. And so like it all comes together. And I know that sounds funny at first, but just wait till you see the lessons. It all makes sense, I promise. And it's a really simple way to teach it.
Yeah. If it doesn't stay there and is the only thing of like, okay, there's a plug and let's plug it in, then it could make a lot more sense. Yes. I think coming from your background, you were literally the perfect person to write the book. Being as a teacher, you're able to write the lesson plans, the sex ed, all of that, your own kids, you've got all the practice on. So literally your whole like background came together just for this.
Well, I hope so. I mean, at first I was really nervous because I'm like, I'm not a doctor. And the first line of my entire book says, I'm not a doctor, but I'm definitely a mother. And mothers and fathers, those are the ones that have to teach on the fly. We can't go to a doctor every time we have a question. Like, it's up to us. We're the ones that have to teach it. So thank you. I mean, I definitely appreciate that.
Doctors aren't the ones teaching it because
I know this is our responsibility. This is our divine responsibility to teach our children.
Yeah. Now, do you think that, like, I know this is a new book and people like didn't have it yet. Like you haven't seen other people really practice this so-called method yet. What do you think it's going to do for someone else who's been stressful about this? They've been wondering, maybe their kid is already turning 15 and they haven't spoken to them about it. And now they have this book. They don't have that whole prep from before the whole first 15 years, but they will have what to do now at age 15.
Yeah. So I've had many parents say this to me, like, oh, my kid's 15. I wish I would have had this before. Dang it. And I'm like, what do you mean, dang it? Your kid's 15. Are you going to give up and just not even try and just let them go? They're 15. They're even 16, 17, 18. Like, you still have a chance to be a good parent. And I have one friend and she said her kid is a senior in high school. And she's like, that ship has sailed. And I'm like, okay, it might be more difficult and they might be older for sure, but do you just want to give up? Like, I don't feel like that is parent nature to just say, well, that sucks. Good luck. I'll see you later. No, you can still teach your child, and it just might be a little bit more difficult, but it's absolutely still possible and absolutely worth it to try as much as you can to be a source for true knowledge, to be a trusting person they can go to. Because again, if they can't trust you, where are they going to go? They're going to go online. They're going to go to a person, or even worse, a thing, an app. That's why you want the children to come to you, no matter what their age is. So my message is, don't give up. There's still time. There's always still time. And the second book for ages 10 through 18 is coming in a few months, but you can always go back and do as much as you can as a parent. Don't give up.
I think also, if they're hearing about this for the first time when they're 15, I can guarantee there's a lot of stuff that was missed. They're only learning what their friends told them, which is, who knows what that is, right? But they're missing out on all the core basic stuff. So as a parent, you should totally be going back and saying, okay, you know what the act of sex is now. Now let's talk about everything that comes from it. Let's talk about anatomy. Let's talk about, cycles. Let's talk about the other opposite sex's body and what's going on there. And they've missed some stuff. And there's plenty of information within the book that you can just flip open, read the summaries, and you could probably touch up on all the summaries with your 15-year-old fairly quick. In a couple little quick visits, you could probably touch up on stuff that they don't know. And I can guarantee there's stuff that they don't know.
Yeah. I have a real fun story about this.
I
absolutely agree. You think they know, or they think they know, and they do not know. This is my secret. They don't know. Okay. So I think he was probably 16. He was in my high school health class, and he was very, very physical with his girlfriend. And I knew that because they would make out in front of my class all the time. And they were not leaving things out for hall room. They were all over each other. So I knew this guy was extremely aware of his girlfriend. Anyway, in class, we were talking about ovulation, about how a girl releases an egg every month. And he always had the best questions. I was always excited whenever his hand came up. But this time, his hand was coming up kind of slow. I could see the wheels turning in his head. And and he goes, okay, so Mrs. Nuttall, so a girl releases an egg. Is that like a chicken? And I just like, oh shoot. First of all, buddy, come on. He really thought that his girlfriend squatted down once a month and laid an egg. And so, as much as they think that they know, there's so much that they do not know.
Ouch. Oh my God. Okay. That's like another,
it's pretty
like
sad.
a cognitive thing. I don't know,
sad.
of like not understanding that is not what humans do.
Yeah.
Besides for like, meaning, even if he didn't know, the fact that he could think that possibly such a thing could happen,
well, you hear releases an egg.
Yeah.
You hear releases an egg. And if you don't have a visual, we showed the kids, here's the ovary. This is the egg. It comes out, goes through the fallopian tube. If you just hear on social media, oh yeah, she ovulates, she releases an egg. That's all they hear most of the time.
Yeah.
They need to be educated.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, two things. Do people come all the time to your kids, to ask them questions? Do they know, or is it not the type? Because like you said, they keep the information to themselves.
That's something that we've definitely talked about. We encourage them. If someone does come to you, to encourage them to go to their parents. If you hear something that's wrong, you don't have to correct them, but just say, I would go talk to your parent about that because that's not right. But we don't want them to be a source of, a target. This is a big concern of mine, is that we just want them to know for themselves. It's not their job to go teach everybody. That's their parents' job. And so just if they hear something that's not true, just encourage them to go talk to their parents, and not in a rude, dude, talk to your parents, but
right.
Hey, that's not right. I would go talk to your parents about that.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so you got your values really straight in your family too. Oh,
well,
now what do your kids? What?
That's something else about this whole program that's so incredible. Is we have our family values, but your family's values and other families could be completely different. And so I wanted to make sure that this would be inclusive to all different types of families. So there are no opinions or values within this book. I give some of my parenting, tips, but within the lessons, it's completely facts. And then there's spaces there for family values, saying, okay, how do you feel about this? What is your opinion on this? What are our family values on this topic? And so there's an accompanying journal that you write your values down. So it's completely customized to each family, because we're all different and we're all have different ways we're raising our families. So it's just, the book is very, very neutral so that it can be inclusive to all different families.
Oh, I like that. And do your kids, after their birthday conversation, do they come back and ask you questions throughout the year?
Yes. Yeah, they do. And that's part of the beauty of this, is that it opens that window and they're comfortable talking about it. And so, yeah, obviously things don't only happen once a year. The body changes quite a bit, especially through, adolescence and stuff. And kids don't always remember everything also. So this is just a wonderful way to kick off this at-home education of your children. And it gains, like I said before, it gains that trust and that bond that you have. And so they do feel comfortable. They come and ask all the time, which is good.
Some things that just break my heart when I hear parents say like, oh, they came and asked me a question. And I was like, oh, I'll tell you when you're older. No, if a child comes to you with a question, that means you've done something right. And that means they trust you. If you don't tell them some sort of a truth or tell them a lie, they're not going to come back to you. They're not going to see you as a source for truth. They're going to find their truth somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be in a place that you're going to like, I promise.
Yeah. You want to make your home, yourself, your relationship as a place, the safe place where your kids are going to constantly coming, whether it's in sex and sex ed, or whether it's in any other aspect of their life where they're coming to you for that information. Now, I know officially Mandi wrote this book, but I also know that it wouldn't have happened without Matt in this picture. So I want to hear from Matt's perspective about this book and the process of writing the book.
That's a good question, because I know you say it's probably easy to assume that, that there's a couple and they both did it together. And I think about this all the time. So I'm a dentist, right? I went through lots and lots of schooling to become a dentist. There was a lot of stuff that I just had to do by myself. Mandi did help me write a couple English papers back in undergrad, but don't tell anybody that. Anyways, so there was so much that I did by myself, but none of that could have happened if she wasn't doing everything else she could do to support her family, to support me. But one thing that I've always done is I've always said, once we're done with school, once, we're finally graduated and we're working and we this and we that and we that, it's part of what makes us so strong together, is that it's always about we. It's never about, oh, I accomplished this and I accomplished that. Now, to answer your question on the book, it's very similar. So this is Mandi's years of education. This is Mandi's years of lesson planning and learning the best way to teach, because she is a far better teacher than I am. And I end up having to teach quite often, but she's still just an amazing teacher. So it's her gift. So I am definitely a supportive role. I do what I can to support her needs outside of this, but just knowing that, everything that she's doing, I'm right alongside with her. I'm supporting her. She does bounce off a lot of ideas, and with the years of medical background that I have, there's a lot of things that I'm like, yes, this needs to be said. This needs to be taught. Good idea. Go with that one. And it's been a fun project. It's been fun because even in my busy life, like I can't do much more but say, yes, well done on that cover. Good job. You did an amazing job on that cover, or that chapter just flows so beautifully. I'm rambling right now, but I think she needs the due credit for sure. And I'm definitely a supportive role, but together we can do so many things, which I know is what you love to do. You love to talk about relationships, and we could talk for days and days on that. But yeah,
we're a team.
Are you in agreement, Mandi?
Oh yeah. I mean, we support each other when we need it, and he's been an absolute blessing. He's always been a blessing and a gift to my life. But yeah, that supportive role of letting people go after their dreams while still loving them and giving them that space. And then when they need it, I can cry on them for however long I need. But yeah, it's so important to be a team.
Oh yeah, totally. Okay, so before we get to our final question, where could Life Fixers connect with you, buy the book, and just learn more about you?
Yeah. So the birthdaysuitbooks.com, that has all the information, that has all the links to all of the books, book 1 and book 2 soon, as well as the journals. For those parents who are also really nervous about this, I've created a full course where I am teaching the content, and the parent and the child can watch together and learn as I teach the content, so they don't have to, say this all out loud themselves. Like there can be, I wanted to give parents every single resource that I could from me to be able to facilitate these conversations. So everything is on there on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us at thebirthdaysuitbooks.com, and just so many great resources on there. And come on, parents, we can do this.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. Wow. So you literally made a course for every age of of how to know. Wow.
For each age, there's a lesson for each age, for one for the parents and then one for the kids, so they can watch together with the parents.
I love that. Literally covering everything. Okay. So for our final question, one that I ask everyone is, how would you define an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or intimacy?
Perfect. Because you didn't say the one I was thinking of.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to start?
Maybe we were thinking about the same thing, but yes, the strongest attribute I feel like is needed in any kind of relationship, whether you're with somebody or not, is selflessness. When we are selfish anyway, meaning we want what we want, that is when relationships struggle. That's when people feel sad. That's when people feel lonely. That's when people feel down and expectations are high. It's because we're thinking about ourselves. So in a relationship, what makes our relationship so amazing, absolutely incredible, is we are a team. We are one. It is never what I want. It is never anything but what do we want? What do we want to do? What's about this? And what do you need today? And that's my secret. I don't know.
Mine goes along with that, and he is much better at this one than I am. And I think that's why we work so well, is because he just knows how to make his wife happy. But it's
well, you apparently know how to make him happy too. So.
I hope so. I hope so. But and this is what, just when I first met him, how he was so different than any other guy that I'd ever dated, was service. He serves me all the time, and it just makes me, and I'm sure that's my love language, but he knows that's my love language, and he's always looking at ways to serve me. And I need to do that more for you. I know that, but I just know that it works so well on my end, because it shows, one, that selflessness, and it just shows way more, I feel, way more than intimacy or love. When you're serving someone, it just shows you're thinking about them beyond them right there in front of you. You're thinking about them when they're not in front of you, and how you can serve them, and what you can do to help them. And that's just a huge part of our marriage that has just made it so wonderful.
The best.
Oh, I love it. Your energy literally like comes off the screen. It's so beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for being here today. I really hope that every single person listening to this buy those books, because they are so important. Oh my God. Yeah. I always said, like, sex is just like, people were always so embarrassed, even like in high school, like people were so embarrassed to talk about it. I'm like, it's just part of being human. And like, now you actually made it easy to be able to make it part of being human. So Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having us. That was fun.
Yeah. Thank you.